Hello everyone, our topic of discussion today is neurotoxic poisons, under which we'll study delirium. So, this is a toxicology series. In this, we'll study today Dhatura, cocaine, and we'll study just Dhatura today. Cocaine and cannabis are left for the another lecture. See, in Dhatura, we have different type of species are found in different parts of the world, right? So, first we have Dhatura alba or Dhatura inoxia, two different species. We have white flowers over here and purple black flower over here. So this is white flower and this is purple flower. So simple logic, different parts of the world different species are found. This white flower is called hellbell or devil's trumpet. Other species will have Dhatura stramonium and Dhatura fastulosa. Now this apple that you see, thorn apple, this is the fruit of Dhatura which is toxic. So we'll have, see, all parts of this plant are toxic. As you can see, all the parts are toxic, so that fruit also was toxic. Now the thorn apple can cause accidental poisoning. The important thing here to note is that the seed of Dhatura, they mimic chili seeds. See, these are chili seeds and these are Dhatura seeds. Now these chili seeds can be mistaken by Dhatura, consumed by the person, and can lead to fatal conditions, right? So how will we differentiate Dhatura from chili seeds? See, first is color. See, Dhatura seeds are dark brown while chilies are yellowish in color, so one is color. Second is, over here you can see roughness or irregular surface while these are perfectly smooth. Third is, if you can visualize, these are a bit thin and these are thick, right? So we'll have, first is Dhatura are dark brown, chili is yellowish. Dhatura are thicker while chili seeds are thin. Chili seeds are smooth while Dhatura are rough or having rough depressions. Now shape is, for Dhatura we have kidney shape and for chili we have oval shapes. Now all these are peculiar characteristic that you see on the surface of the seed. What if the seed that person ate was decomposed or was anyhow the surface structures are gone? So now how will you identify it was a chili seed or a Dhatura seed? So now we'll have to see the opening inside the embryo. See, the embryo of Dhatura is curved outward, so Dhatura outwards and chili inwards. The embryo is curved inwards. So post-mortem, after the death, we want to see that okay, surface irregularity is not seen, everything is gone, but when we cut the seed and see the embryo, then we can identify okay, this was Dhatura seed or chili seeds, right? So we'll have opening outwards embryo in Dhatura. Dhatura is outwards and chili is curved inwards. So chili is inwards, Dhatura is outwards. Now, fatal dose is 100 to 145 seeds, which can cause death or any fatal condition. But the stupefying dose, see, what does the word stupefying means? In long travel or anything, a person, let's say, come close to the passenger and he gives himself the bottle of any cold drink or tea that is mixed with this Dhatura seeds. So when person eats this or drinks this, the person gets unconscious and it's easy to rob that person, right? So we'll have stupefying. The process I told you, it's is stupefying, and the dose is what, 50 seeds. So Dhatura is also used in stupefying or in robbery cases. And why do we use it? Because it is easily available, right? The plant that grows easily and they can take these seeds and use it as a stupefying dose. Now let's run the clinical features. What happens when the poison is ingested by a person? For this we need to know basic about sympathetic and parasympathetic system. See, parasympathetic system is rest and digest system, while sympathetic is activated whenever there is stress. Let's say a dog is after you or there is a fire in the building, you have to run fast, etc. Stressful conditions, sympathetic system will be activated. And in parasympathetic, yeah, like let's say right now you are watching the lecture, so you are in a rest state, there is no stressful inside the body, so we'll have in rest condition parasympathetic. Now let's learn each and some about the clinicals. See, in sympathetic system your pupil gets dilated. Why? Let's say this is a pupil, it's get dilated so that the more light can enter the eyes, you can see properly in that stressful time. Second is there is airway dilatation. Why? Because whenever the airway it get dilated, more oxygen can flow through, right? So there is proper oxygen energy requirement given to the body. Second is the digestive system. In sympathetic system, do you think whenever there is a building fire, there is a burn inside the building or the dog is behind you, you need energy to run, you don't need energy to digest your food, right? So there will be decreased digestive activity. And how it will present? See, whenever there is increased digestive activity, there will be contraction of the muscles of this GH so that food can go ahead, or it can be absorb properly, right? Whenever the digestive activity decreases, there is no contraction of these muscles, so that's why food stays in one place, so that results in constipation, right? So the sympathetic activity does constipation, whereas the parasympathetic overactive will do what? Diarrhea, with the excessive movement of the gut, right? Now, when do you think that salivation, secretions, and all body secretions should occur? In parasympathetic, right? Parasympathetic is rest and digestive, where we need to digest food. So there will be more salivation, etc. So let's say there is decreased parasympathetic activity. Then what will happen? If the parasympathetic activity is decreased, there will be no salivation. So there will be dry eyes, dry mouth, right? And there will be decreased digestive activity, so there will be constipations, etc., right? So we'll have these symptoms. Now, why all this is relevant here is, first let's learn the mechanism how this sympathetic activities work. See, this neuron communicates with this neuron with the help of this messenger acetylcholine, and this neuron also secretes acetylcholine. Now this muscle, it can be any muscle or glands. Let's just not look at the receptor, it can be anything, it can either secrete saliva or it can constrict the pupil or anything, there will be muscles. So the messenger is acetylcholine. Now in normal body we have an enzyme called acetylcholine esterase. So whenever there will be this acetylcholine is, we know, stimulating this receptor, and the parasympathetic activity is happening, let's say constricting the pupil or salivation. But we don't want this acetylcholine to work infinitely on this receptor, right? We need that it is degraded, so the action is limited. So that's why we kept an enzyme acetylcholine esterase. So what it is doing is it is degrading this acetylcholine, right? So there is no infinite work of acetylcholine on these receptors. And there is a drug that blocks this acetylcholinesterase enzyme. The drug is physostigmine, right? We'll study its relevant, but right now just remember there is a physostigmine called drug, right? So what we learned first, there was some functions of parasympathetic and sympathetic system. How does sympathetic system work? Due to the help of its acetylcholine messenger, and which enzyme degrades it? Acetylcholine esterase. Now what's relevant over here is the Dhatura poison. Let's say you ate the fruit of Dhatura. Now that fruit will have some active chemicals, right? Atropine, myosin, and hyoscyamine. What? Atropine, myosin, and hyoscyamine. Now these chemicals, what they do is they don't let acetylcholine work on its receptor, right? So you can see this is atropine, this is hyoscyamine. It blocks this acetylcholine acting on the receptor, and they will act. So what will happen? Now this parasympathetic activity is decreased. Why? Because we know parasympathetic activity works when this acetylcholine is acting on its receptor, and then there will be secretion, salivation, etc., right? But now there is blockage and there is reduced parasympathetic activity. So when parasympathetic activity is reduced, what will happen? We know that parasympathetic activity does salivation, increase saliva secretion. So there will be decreased saliva secretion. So what will happen? There will be dry eyes, so there will be dry mouth, right? So the dry mouth will cause difficulty in swallowing, because the entire tract is so dry that the food cannot go in, right? So there will be difficulty in speaking, swallowing, right? And there will be other symptoms also. So let's study the symptoms. First, I told you dry skin, dry mouth, all the secretions will decrease. This dry mouth will cause what? Dysarthria and dysphagia. What is dysphagia and dysarthria? See, difficulty speaking is dysarthria, and difficulty in swallowing is dysphagia. Why? Because there is no saliva, so the tract is so dry you can't speak properly, you can't swallow properly, right? Then dilated pupil, because parasympathetic system is responsible for constricting the pupil. If there is no parasympathetic system, then there will be dilatation of the pupil. Then dysuria or urinary retention. Parasympathetic system job is muscle contraction, and that will cause urination. And why urination is in parasympathetic? Because urination, whenever the stressful condition is there, we don't want the muscles to contract, or we don't want any urination, or it is not a function of stress activity, right? So rest and digestive system, there is urination, so we'll have dysuria or urinary retention because parasympathetic activity is decreased. Second is muttering delirium, or also known as Caprologia. Now what it is? See, it is grasping imaginary objects or pickling clothes or such symptoms, right? So picking or grasping at imaginary objects, that is caprologia, and it occurs in Dhatura poisoning. It is included under muttering delirium, right? Other one is constipation. As I told you that there will won't be any contraction of the gut muscles because parasympathetic activity is decreased, so there won't be any contraction, the food will stay at the same place, and that will result in constipation. Now there is one conceptual understanding over here. See, if there is constipation or if the gut is not contracting and the food is not going ahead, then one benefit is that if the person ingests these seeds, let's say he ingests the dhatura seeds, then the dhatura seeds will be in the stomach for a little bit more time because there won't be any contraction. So now you can do what? You can do gastric lavage and remove this seed, right? So and the treatment we'll have over here is decontamination by gastric lavage. Why? Because there is reduced activity or reduced motility. So we'll have constipation, drunken gait, and death, right? So let's revise the features again. First is dry skin, dry mouth, dysarthria, dysphagia, dilated pupil or cone picker's pupil, unilateral dilatation, cone picker's pupil, or dysuria or urinary retention, muttering delirium associated with caprologia and picking or grasping imaginary objects, constipation, drunken gait, and death. So this was all. Now treatment I told you is physostigmine. Why? Because whenever there is blockage of this acetylcholine added receptors, we want to increase the concentration of acetylcholine over here so that it competitively inhibits atropine and all others chemical which was there in dhatura, right? So if we inhibit this enzyme, there is no one degrading acetylcholine. There will be reduced acetylcholine over here and it will restore the parasympathetic activities again. So we have physostigmine as antidote and symptomatic measures. Now these seeds have a tough outer coat or covering so that will resist its decomposition or putrefaction. Now medical legal importance, we have stupefying agent. We know it can be used in railway or roadside poisoning for robbing a person. Second is accidental poisoning. It can be mistaken by chili seeds, they look the same, and the difference are most important, they are asked repeatedly. Now suey needles. Now first of all there is a needle, and the suey needle is made up of three things: dhatura, opium, and abrus precadoius, and that is used in what? Cattle poisoning, right? So this was it in the dhatura poisoning.